Just before Grandstand here on BBC One, time to find out what the weather holds in store with Peter Cockcroft. Your weekend fix of sport now on BBC One in Grandstand with Steve Ryder and Sue Barker.
It's all action at Holby General in 20 minutes. First on BBC One, may the voice be with you. Patching up the casualties of love and war now on BBC One to Holby A&E.
Now on BBC One, time to open up this week's Country File with John Craven. You're watching BBC One on the record. Now on BBC One, a chance to catch up with the week's events in Albert Square.
A fantasy love story for Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour now on BBC One, sweeping away their 60-year separation to meet somewhere in time. Sunday's South East News now on BBC One with Gargi Patel. Well-mature comedy, Last of the Summer Wine in 25 minutes on BBC One. After Harvest Songs of Praise with Pam Rhodes.
Can Compo believe his ears? Has Nora got the hots for him at last now on BBC One?
BBC One, a new series, Carol Vorderman investigates the unexplained.
First on BBC One, the animal hospital tackles the problems that come with a large litter. Constructing a plan for revenge now on BBC One, The Locksmith.
For the weekend on BBC One, village life is shattered, rebellious behaviour and a vicious killing in Bright Hair.
Attempting to save her daughter from a life of sleaze in a seedy underworld, Lindsay Wagner stars in tonight's film drama now on BBC One, based on a true story.
The Close Show is in 50 minutes. First on BBC One, let's hit the road to London. Here on BBC One, it's Ooh La La.
What to look out for if you want to avoid the brush-off now on BBC One with Juliette Morris. Here and now. One before that, poor old Bianca's feeling a bit down, but she can always rely on Ricky.
Before that on BBC One, a new series of Face Value with Alice Beer. Pop group China Black joined Carol Smiley for the midweek lottery draw in half an hour on BBC One, and that's after Crime Beat with Martin Lewis. To cry on. First on BBC One, Here and Now with Juliette Morris. Here on BBC One now, Dell paints himself into a corner.
A caring doctor played by Nigel Havers now on BBC One and causing problems for Dangerfield.
That matter, here and now.
Into the fire for Dangerfield.
Nice having icicles in your crevices, especially when you're laid up in bed. Time to warm the proverbials now on BBC One in Get Well Soon.
A summary of the news now on BBC One with Jill Dando.
A European first for Children's Hospital, a groundbreaking transplant operation in half an hour, here on BBC One.
Forbidden love becomes even more entangled, a dangerous police operation in Undercover Heart, 9:30, here on BBC One.
An assassin's loose in the hospital, Quincy take cover on BBC One in 25 minutes, after Neighbour.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's facing the unlikely prospect of giving birth, with Danny DeVito and Emma Thompson standing by to help him push. Comedy now on BBC One, Junior.
This is BBC One. Grandstand is coming up in 5 minutes after a news summary from Moira Stewart.
Now on BBC One, the news with Moira Stewart. So now on BBC One, before the Generation Game, we're talking French, or something like it.
Trouble in and outside the wards now on BBC One as a Green protest goes wrong and Eve and Charlie clash in Casualty.
At 2:25 this afternoon, Hayley Mills stars in the film classic Pollyanna. Before that, BBC One's off to Walford to catch up on the week's events in Albert Square.
Cartoon fun now on BBC One on the Isle of Pingo Pongo.
How did she cope with it all? Memories of Safi at 9:30 as the Ab Fab collection continues here on BBC One.
At the new regular time of 8 o'clock, Let Yourself Go with Jill Dando. Inside the Strange and Unexplained now on BBC One, Carol Vorderman returns for a new series of mysteries. Now on BBC One, QED looks at the science of a beautiful but very dangerous sport.
Fancy winning $1 million now on BBC One? You'll be lucky.
Here on BBC One, in half an hour, zookeeper Ginty has a chance to become more closely acquainted with the gorillas. First, it's Animal Hospital.
Teaching a priest to be a bingo caller turns out to be quite difficult in Ballykissangel in half an hour. First on BBC One, the real story of one of Britain's most elusive creatures. When the army think they've found an unexploded bomb, the four-legged evacuees are sent to the animal hospital. That's in half an hour here on BBC One.
First on BBC One, Match of the Day with Ray Stubbs. Daryl's finding life behind bars pretty tough. Hopefully the birds of a feather will cheer him up in half an hour. First on BBC One, there's someone else who could do with a lift.
Now on BBC One, if your summer holiday involves the trip to Cornwall, Carol Smiley has some tips.
As yet unseen, Auntie airs her smashing new bloomers at 7 here on BBC One after Jim Davidson's New Year Generation game.
Real life medicine now as BBC One goes live to City Hospital.
This is BBC One and Lance's lucky streak just keeps on coming.
Now on BBC One, Weekend Watchdog with Anne Robinson in widescreen.
To Ramsey Street now on BBC One, and how's Anne going to take it?